Retail Fast Five, brought to you in partnership with the A&M Consumer and Retail Group, Avalara, Williot, TGW, and Sezzle. Ranked in the top 10% of all podcasts globally and currently ranked the number one podcast, in all of retail by Feedspot, the Retail Fast Five is the podcast that we hope makes you feel a little smarter, but most importantly, a little happier each week too. Today is February 21st, 2024. I'm one of your hosts, Ann Mazinga.
And I'm one of your other co-hosts, Chris Walton.
And we are here once again to discuss the most important headlines from the past week that highlight how the physical, digital, and human elements of retail are coming together to shape the future. Chris, we have some very special guests joining us for your favorite podcast each month, mine as well. Two guests from the A&M Consumer and Retail Group, Joanna Rangarajan and Cassie Riding. Chris, are you excited for these two guests?
Oh, yes, I am, man. This is definitely my favorite show every month because, you know, we get to sit back and we get to take it all in. We get to take in what the consultants tell us about the headlines each and every week. It adds a whole new element to our show, which is awesome.
Absolutely. Well, let's go to our guests. But give us a little bit of your backgrounds. And Joanna, we'll start with you.
Oh, excellent. Hi, Ann. Hey, Chris. Nice to be back with you. I think it's been a year now.
Has it been that long? Wow.
I think so. It's almost like, to the date. So thanks for having me back. It's nice to be here. But I'm a partner in the A&M Consumer and Retail Group. I spent time in my career in consulting and then a bit on the industry side of things at companies like the Children's Place and the J. Crew Group, focused, mostly on things related to product and development and sourcing. And so, that has given me a pretty deep background in product operations, sort of across a variety of business models. And then I've been with CRG coming up on 3 years now. And in my time here, I've focused mostly on transformational work, really trying to help our clients accelerate and ideally surpass goals that they have and objectives that they've laid out for their success. And, most of my focus is in apparel, actually.
Lovely. We have got some questions for you today, Joanna. Cassie, welcome back to you as well. This is your second time on the show. Tell the audience a little bit about you and your background.
Thanks. Yes, very excited to be back for my second appearance. Hopefully that's good validation. The first one was not a flop. So my name is
it was
Cassie
great.
Riding.
It was great.
I'm Cassie Riding. I am a director with CRG. I joined CRG when we were very young back in 2020. I'm a lifelong consultant besides that. So within CRG, I also focus a lot on our large scale transformations and also a bit of store operations. So, excited to talk about these things today.
Well, it's great to have you both. That's why we love partnering with the A&M Consumer and Retail Group, because you guys have a strong background in operations, particularly, which is something that's near and dear to Ann and I's heart. But Ann, before we get started, are there any big announcements we need to tell our listeners about before we start putting the A&M consultants on the spot?
We absolutely do. In 2 weeks, on March 5th at 1 p.m. Eastern, we have an exceptional event that we have planned from Microsoft. We are inviting two of their lawyers, Chris.
Two lawyers in a room at one time.
Two lawyers in a room.
What are we thinking?
We are going to talk about how you should be using AI most responsibly in your job. So we've talked about it for several weeks. Everyone we come across at conferences, we're asking how you're using AI, how you're using generative AI. And everybody's testing it and playing around. But these guys, they're going to go deep with us on exactly what watchouts you should have, how you should be making sure that you're protecting your company, yourselves, and the work that you're doing using this new technology.
Yeah, and it's basically like free legal advice for like an hour, right? Like basically,
I was hesitant to say that because I don't know if we can technically say that, but
if they're on the clock, if they're
you
billable.
have two lawyers at your disposal. You can ask them any question that you'd like for that 1 hour.
They happen to work for
March 5th.
Microsoft, but yes. But they are actual lawyers on the clock.
Yes.
That's great.
March 5th,
awesome.
1 p.m. Eastern. Make sure you go to our LinkedIn page, OmniTalk Retail, to sign up for that event. All right, Chris, I think it's time. I think it's
Yeah,
time to
let's
put
just get
these
to the
two
show.
test. Let's
All
do
right,
it. Let's
and
get to the
let's do it.
headlines.
But before we get to the headlines, of course, today's headlines are again brought to you by Shop Talk, and we've got some big news. Shop Talk has released their final agenda, and
Yes.
we are on there.
Yeah,
Everyone,
you know
please.
who else? This is the only time in our lives, Chris, where we're going to be on the same banner as Ludacris.
Ludacris.
Okay?
I know.
Yes.
It's ludicrous. Yes.
Chris Walton and Nan Mazinga and some other people.
Yes, in that order for sure. Or no, definitely Ludacris first. But anyway, we're on there. Go check it out online, where you can also grab a ticket to come hear us on stage. We're speaking alongside what is actually 225 predominantly C-suite speakers from all corners of retail. And here's the kicker. Shop Talk ticket prices are going up this Friday, February 23rd, and the selections process for the Meetup networking program, which we talked about last week, kicks off this coming Monday, February 26th. So you're going to want to get in on it. So head on over to shoptalk.com right now to save money and make sure your profile is visible when people start grabbing those coveted Meetup spots. Retailers and brands can use our code OMNITALK. That's OMNITALK to save an extra 10% off current rates. Just head to shoptalk.com/US and book your ticket today. That's shoptalk.com/US and book your ticket today. And I'm super excited because I am opening the show on Monday with the keynote panel moderating with Maria Renz of Google. I am so excited for that. Google, as I think you believe, is doing some really great things in the world of commerce. So I can't wait to talk to her. So everyone come by, stop by, check out the show, use our code to register. All right. Today we've got news on Target's new dealworthy brand, Starbucks and Bank of America's new loyalty partnership, Hasbro's drastic SKU reduction, Walmart's nationwide EV charging network plans. But we begin today with even bigger news out of Walmart. And I cannot wait to talk about this one. I am anxious with bated breath.
Yes. Well, Chris, let's go to headline number one then. Walmart released Q4 earnings yesterday, and here are some of the key callouts. According to CNBC, comp sales rose 4% for Walmart US. Global e-commerce sales jumped 23% year over year, topping $100 billion in total. CFO John David Rainey backed away from predictions surrounding deflation, saying, quote, the possibility of overall deflation still remains, but prices are more stable than where they were 3 months ago, end quote. But perhaps most strikingly, Walmart confirmed plans that it will acquire smart TV maker Vizio to accelerate the growth of its advertising business, a business which grew at a remarkable rate of 33% globally and hit 22% in the US year over year.
Wow.
Joanna, we're going to go to you first here. What are your quick thoughts on Walmart overall? And then more specifically, what are your thoughts on the Vizio acquisition?
I mean, first of all, wow. Walmart, just wow. And, round of applause, right? I think they have just really proven what it's like to stand out in such a tough, backdrop of, higher inflation and reduced discretionary spend. And so, I think it harkens back to, the tried and true low price guarantee that they've continued to tout. I think, despite what we're seeing in lower overall spending, we are seeing that uptick in transactions, and that definitely benefited them as well. And then we've watched them in recent years really lean into new ways of doing business, right? And so that comes with e-commerce and the marketplace platform and the advertising and that you mentioned as well. And so I think they're continuing to look for ways to sort of reinvent. If we pivot to the specific Vizio partnership and acquisition there, I think it's no surprise that they're looking for something like that. They're continuing to look at growth opportunities. And again, the 33% that you mentioned on advertising makes sense that they're going to lean to something that harkens, profitability. They've grown grocery, notoriously low margin. They've been operating e-commerce, with losing profitability recently. And so they're doing that. I think the Vizio brings them back into some high margin space in the ads, with probably subscribers that are right in their sweet spot, given that Vizio is, a value brand of television. So I think that's where they are, and they've got, I think, 18 million subscribers or so in Vizio. So if they're not already Walmart shoppers, they may very well become them.
Joanna, I think you bring up some really good points, especially with the Vizio acquisition, because you look at, 18 million active accounts at the end of just last year. Plus, I think that you look at the comprehensive data that they'll have about consumers. So not just the data that they can offer on their retail media platform of what shoppers are doing in store, but then once you tie that to what they're doing in their actions that they're doing at home on a device that they're using almost daily, if not multiple times a day. So I think there's so much. I love how you're hitting on how much opportunity there is here as well. Chris, you were also in agreement as Joanna was talking. What are your thoughts on the news from Walmart and especially this acquisition?
Yeah, I mean, I think the earnings news is no surprise. I mean, we've been talking about how Walmart is just killing it, and Doug McMillon may be like not retail CEO of the year, but CEO of the year of everywhere. He's doing so well. So, and they're just crushing it. So, and it's standout results, for the most part. So, but let's go back to Vizio. I think Vizio is an incredibly interesting play to me. And Joanna said it. It's the affordable TV maker, right? Yep. So, with that, you get the automatic Walmart app install for sure. It even gives Walmart some distribution control over what is a holiday doorbuster, essentially. So from a merchandising perspective, there is value in that, especially because it is kind of the bargain basement, low price TV, or one of the options in that arena. But I think, to me, and this is where I'm going to go kind of hot take on this right out of the get-go, Anne, so I hope you're ready for this, but I think it signals to me something much, much bigger, which I think it signals to me that Walmart may actually be going after original content. And let me explain why. Because otherwise, like, why would Walmart do this? You can't like keep other apps off the TV, right? So if people want to get a Vizio, they can still download Amazon Prime, right? You can't just like make them exclusive to Walmart Plus, as an example. And there's really no point in Walmart trying to become a TV manufacturer. Like, yeah, there's some value there potentially, but it's a big get, really, when you think about it. So but it does give them the option value of getting into home with content when that day comes. Like when they stand up that studio, when they stand up that content production arm, similar to Amazon Prime, because the media and the control of the content is what the future is about. So I think the way McMillan's thinking about this is like $2 billion option value, gives us the play to get into homes more securely in the long run. It's a long-term play. If it doesn't work, who cares? No big loss. We still have a great TV manufacturer in our stable. We're good to go. And you got to think too, remember they debuted the content in the beginning of the fall last year, the holiday add to cart thing. So like, I think their minds are potentially going there. It's just, this is like an early stage kind of option value play, in my opinion. That's my take.
Man. I cannot get on board with that. I'm sorry. I still think that the value is blatant in that they can have this 360 picture of their customer. Like, yes, they could get into content, I suppose, but oh man, if this last year was any indicator of the type of content they're putting out, I am not hopeful for Walmart's ability to compete with the likes of Amazon and Netflix and some of the other creators out there.
Buy a studio.
Cassie, take us home on this. Where do you come down on the news from Walmart?
No, I wasn't thinking of that angle, Chris, but I mean, what I was really thinking about is how Walmart always wants to think about the customer experience as they're leaning into advertising, not forgetting about the customer experience. So that did kind of trigger, maybe that is the route they're going to, because they want to focus on customer first. And so without pushing advertising down their customers' throats, they can actually use it as a platform rather than, all those additive benefits, but their customers are getting a lot more out of it. So I think we'll see what happens with it.
Yeah, it's an interesting move. Like, it's not I need to go that direction, but it gives me the option to go there if I should want to down the road. So that's what I like about it.
They have a TV producer, right? Like, they don't have to have a TV company in order to do that. Like, they could be doing that now in theory if that was really the angle that they wanted to go after, right?
They could be, but the interesting thing is the TV as the substrate that is in the homes of their clientele too, because Vizio is strictly aligned with their demographic too. So it enables them to have that app already installed on the TV, all that content already piped in to the people that have Vizio throughout America. So that's what I like about it.
Can you tell I just don't want content from Walmart? Can you tell that I've been burned so bad by the ring from episode from
well, that
year?
was specifically shoppable content, but you know, they could get into like, you know, I mean, what the heck? What's the barrier to entry on great content? You just need to hire right people, right? Really smart people to produce content. So, or acquire a studio too. So, all right, well, that was fun. All right, we're starting off hot today. Headline number 2. This one's going to be a blast too. And this headline is possibly stemming from Walmart's recent success, I might add. Target has introduced a new brand, Dealworthy, with a lowercase d, that is meant to feature low prices on everyday basics. According to a press release on PR Newswire, Dealworthy is designed to give consumers incredible value on nearly 400 everyday basics. The Dealworthy assortment spans apparel and accessories, essentials and beauty, electronics, and home items. Starting at less than $1 and with most products priced under $10, the prices on Dealworthy items are among the lowest guests will find across Target's assortment. The first Dealworthy products will arrive in February in stores and on Target.com, and new products will continue to be introduced throughout 2024 and early 2025, including power cords, undergarments, socks, laundry detergent, dish soap, and more. A cornucopia of delights. And Joanna, we're going to go back to you. Is Dealworthy noteworthy? Pun very much intended.
Pun intended. Appreciated this early morning. I think it's watchworthy.
Watchworthy.
I think it's watchworthy. I think it's really, you know, interesting. I think once again, you know, we're seeing the impact of the economic climate and how retailers are really forecasting that this trend is going to go forward for a longer cycle. And so, you know, retailers are recognizing that they have to tailor and adjust the assortments that they're offering accordingly. Now, for Target, you know, they're no stranger to owned brands, right? They have, I think, about a portfolio of about 45 of their own brands. So it makes sense for them to go after a real value segment, which does seem to be, you know, taking great value on potentially head on. It also seems to really try and be taking a bit of share from, you know, dollar store, Dollar General, as well, where they might be able to attract some new customers with these really, really compelling price points, and or offer customers who already love their experience but maybe a little pinched, you know, to trade down within their own stores. I think what's interesting and noteworthy about how they're doing this compared to, you know, 2018 when they launched Smartly and they tried, you know, their hand at, you know, a real value play there. You know, that had sort of a confusing positioning statement and a really weak assortment. Smartly launched with 70 products. They came out of the gate and said Dealworthy is going to have 400. So they're learning, I think, from, you know, kind of what flopped in that and trying to bring this in. The last thing I think of note is very interesting to me is the timing. And the fact that they've announced this a week after announcing the relaunch of Up and Up, which is, of course, their everyday essentials brand. And so while the prices of that are a little bit higher, it looks like they're really trying to capture, you know, a pretty significant end of that value spectrum with both Dealworthy and the Up and Up revamp.
So you think it's a blatant play to go after the dollar store business and to shore up the defenses against Walmart in the low price traffic here? Then that's essentially what this is. This is that type of move, Joanna.
I think that yes, they're definitely trying to capture the sharp value end. You know, our the A&M CRG kind of consumer sentiment survey that we put out at the end of last year told us all around, you know, consumer spending is definitely shifting back to basics, back to essentials. That's where consumers are willing to open the wallet. And we're also seeing that, you know, increased prices continue to be the barrier to spend. So as retailers are trying to grapple with that, having an assortment directly addressing some sharp price points that they did not have a brand in their 45 brand portfolio to do, seems to be trying to take that on and react to consumer sentiment.
So net, do you like this move?
Do I like it? Sure.
Yeah.
I don't, I think that Target has tried to play in a lot of different spaces. And I think they've found, 30 billion in revenue in their private brand stable is nothing to sneeze at. I think they know what they're doing.
No.
And the
Like
fact that
half
they're
their
going
business.
after no frills basics
Mhm.
makes sense to me if they were going to launch another one.
All right, Cassie, let's let you in on this one. What do you think? Do you like this move? What else would you add here?
I mean, overall, I agree with everything that Joanna says. I mean, in my mind, though, is it, a Hail Mary to get these customers back? We're seeing the dollar format is actually seeing people, new customers there, and then turn into repeat customers. So those are often customers that we've seen, maybe that cannot afford to go into even the up and up brand at Target as their basics. And so is this their play to get them back and get them back in stores? And everyone loves that Target adventure of maybe adding one more thing in your cart. So I think it's, a necessary play if they need to do it. Is it going to work out, and are they going to be able to win these customers back potentially? I guess time will tell. I do think that, it will be interesting to some of the customers that haven't been able to have had to kind of trade down more to the dollar format to get into that, those everyday essentials. I just think it's a little bit confusing to the customers who maybe are seeing before up and up as their, lowest brand. And now they're going, oh, we're cutting under into something else. If you are an up and up customer, do you trade down now? So I think there might be a bit of confusion at the beginning, but I think, it was potentially a necessary play.
Yeah, because I think the one thing that people don't always understand too is the overlap between the Walmart and the Target customer particularly, and then by default, probably the Dollar General customer too, is very significant, and looking at Walmart's announcements that we just talked about and how they're having success, there's probably a real factor going on there in that regard. So Anne, what do you think though? You've been sitting on the sidelines here for a little bit. What do you think? Do you agree with these two, or do you want to add anything else?
I think it makes sense, and I understand the strategy of giving a good, better, best option for people like Cassie and Joanna are talking about to bring people in. Like, fine if you want to do the deal worthy for paper plates, household cleaning items, etc. But where I don't like this is in apparel, especially. I think apparel is a terrible place to be doing this because you already have products with the universal thread line, Wild Fable, like you're already doing tank tops for $8, $5, whatever it might be. And that feels still like the Target of Target. And I think that with taking this into other categories, I'd even argue like some electronics and home items do not need to be included in the deal worthy. I wouldn't go 400 SKUs. I think I would keep it at just bring the price point down then for the universal thread tank top to $5 versus, putting a new label on it that feels diminished and doesn't feel good. I think Target's ownership in the market is that you expect more, pay less. You have a premium brand for things. And I just think that this is you're cutting it down to a level that doesn't need to be there. I feel like I'm getting a nicer product a nicer tank top at Target than I do at Walmart. And I think that's going to be a big miss here. But Joanna, I mean, I defer to you too. You're the apparel expert here, but maybe I'm off.
I think you're onto something in terms of the categories, and what they didn't say in the announcement is how many of the 400 are playing in which categories.
Yes.
It's also, they gave themselves plenty of time to roll out, right? They said this is going to happen throughout 24 and into 25. So we're not going to see a huge drop. I think if they're rolling it out wisely, they're going to start in categories, Anne, that you're talking about, where people are a little less brand loyal, quite price sensitive, and they're going to see the response there. They also, though, did make a point to say that deal worthy is part of their overall umbrella around, the 1-year guarantee. So it does seem like they're trying, for whatever they put out there in apparel, that they're saying the quality is still going to be something, that you expect. But they've got a lot of very affordable apparel, and I feel the same way about it when I shop their apparel lines that you mentioned.
Yeah. Real quick, I mean, like those last 2 points I think are really important because, you know, you talk about a merchant architecture, right? Like there's good, better, best. This is OPP, good, better, best. That's where they're positioning this is the opening price point. It's really, and Joanna, you said at the outset, it's really a smartly rebrand. They're just bolstering the rebrand. They're trying to rebrand that category, and they're trying to make it more expansive in terms of what they're trying to go after here. And the part that I agree with Ann on too is like, I don't like the branding of it. Like the overt deal branding play doesn't feel very Target to me, because by calling something deal worthy, especially in apparel, you're basically saying like, this is what's deal worthy. Anything else is not, which doesn't make a ton of sense to me. So it's not a position that I think you want to be playing in or shoring up, because then you're driving people to OPP in the long run, and that's not good for you either. So short-term play could be dangerous, you know, here as things go forward. So I don't know.
All right. Well, we listen to the conversation we've been having already. So much robust discussion here, and
so I guess it is noteworthy.
Headlines. Yes. All right. Let's go to Chris. Yes. Let's go to headline number 3. Bank of America and Starbucks are teaming up on their loyalty programs. According to Chain Storage, Starbucks rewards members who are also Bank of America cardholders can link their accounts for additional benefits. Starbucks rewards members can earn 2% cash back on top of the rewards or card benefits they already receive on qualifying purchase, and 1 Starbucks reward star point per $2 spent at Starbucks when they link an eligible Bank of America debit or credit card with their Starbucks rewards account. This new program is open to currently enrolled Starbucks rewards members and Bank of America cardholders, as well as new members or cardholders. And Bank of America is offering it through its Bank AmeriDeals loyalty program. Cassie, that was a mouthful, but if you can make sense of what I just read, what do you think of this move, and what are your thoughts more broadly on credit card loyalty programs? Are they this untapped goldmine in the CPG retail media landscape?
Well, I will say I am a customer of both, and I have not added this deal yet. Maybe I will continue to think about this after, but I think when we're thinking about the Starbucks Bank of America deal, we have to think of what Starbucks is trying to get out of this. Are they trying to, I think I've seen some quotes saying they're trying to reward their loyal customers. Is that truly the drive there? Are they trying to bring back customers? I know we've seen a number of customers in the last, few months actually be leaving Starbucks to go elsewhere. Is it a play to get them back? Or is it more of a play to make sure that everyone is actually using their rewards program and they're getting the data on their customers because they're using their app and they're making their orders through their that platform? What's the ultimate goal there? I think that the Starbucks rewards app has actually been a huge success. I think there's been huge year-over-year growth for the last few years. So we can't argue that, and they continue to bring on new users, which is ultimately going to improve their customer experience, get more data on them.
Yeah.
Is it actually driving more Starbucks customers? I'm not sure. I don't know if the incentive is enough to bring people on and to bring people back, to make people use their Bank of America card over that. The value of a star, I don't know if that's truly enough. And I think then that kind of goes to any of these type of programs that someone's trying to design. Is the incentive aligned to make it, enough of that hurdle for someone to go through the steps of linking their card? I think it's obviously going to be a great play to make sure you can learn more about your customers, but it has to be a good enough incentive for your customer to go through those and to get out of their normal, habits of how they would typically pay. So yeah. I don't think everyone needs to be running towards this, but I don't think it's a bad idea to, include it in as a program.
Cassie, I have to ask you, like anecdotally, do you look for the deals on your credit card? Are the people is that something that you're like, all right, I'm going to add this to my Bank of America card? Are you familiar with the deals platform?
I'm familiar with a few. I think more so the ones you hear about, the ones that are like the better deals. I think maybe sure. Through friends or, online, someone might be, on Instagram or TikTok, you have some influencer saying that this is a great deal. But the ones that are truly not adding significient value, you're actually getting, a few dollar boost from it. I mean, I don't think most people are going through the time for that.
Yeah, makes sense. Joanna, how about you?
It is.
I know. Well, I have to. That's why I asked Cassie, because she's probably representative of the norm of people, not me. I know I'm very much on the outskirts here. Joanna, what about you? Do you go for the Bank of America AmeriDeals or other American Express deals? Like, where do you land on that and on this partnership between Bank of America and Starbucks?
Yeah, so I'm an Amex woman, so I am all about their deals. I will,
Yes.
cycle through and add those to the card frequently. So I'm kind of in Anne's camp on that one. I think that this wasn't, surprising that Starbucks is doing this. They seem to have a little bit of a gap given the Chase sunset, the Chase Starbucks reward Visa, I think last year. So they needed to sort of fill
Mm,
that. I believe, the fact that they've played in the space with credit cards, and I think they still have a deal with Delta Sky Miles.
Yeah.
So they're familiar with some of what could be pitfalls in terms of privacy data and concerns about that. But ultimately, there has to be a meaningful ROI here. And so I think, whether there's a little bit of gold here or it's a gold mine really
Yes.
depends on the execution and how well they're able to stand out given so many other loyalty programs that are out there.
Right, right. Yeah, I agree. I mean, you think, Joanna, like, look at what Starbucks did for mobile ordering. They could get people on the bandwagon for adding deals to the card, but is it, like Cassie's saying, is it enough? Is it worth it? Is it worth the time to make an impact here? But Chris, I know we've been covering this. We've just did an
yeah.
interview that I'm sure you're going to talk about here, but what are your thoughts on this announcement this week? Seemed
Yeah.
very, very timely.
Yeah, I was excited to talk about this too, because I actually do think this whole idea is an untapped gold mine for the CPGs and the retail media networks. And the reason I say that is we've got a podcast dropping next week on Tuesday. And it's a great podcast, everybody. It's with Tom Burgess of Snip Media.
Mhm.
And so and what it tells us is that, and what we learned through that podcast, Ann, right, is like the CPGs haven't fully started targeting deals through these mobile banking interfaces. It's just not something that they're doing right now. And the reason that they probably will start to do that is, as Cassie mentioned, that the data is 100% attributable because of the credit card information,
Mhm.
right? And so you can think about this in a whole host of ways. Like the CPGs can stand up deals, the retailers can partner with banks to kind of white label their retail media network offers as part of what the banks are offering through these loyalty apps in their programs. So I think it's going to have a lot of mileage here, and Starbucks is kind of doing that. They're kind of doing the old school way, but like it's an important topic to bring up because we're going to start to see more and more of this. And Ann, you like it as well because as I learned on the podcast that we're kind of teasing it now too. You like it too because it's easier to use, right? Like
For sure.
you don't have to like take a picture of your receipt. You don't have to like go to another app. It just happens by default, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think that's the real benefit here is like Joanna said, I'm an American Express card holder too. And that's something that I'm checking constantly 3-4 times a week just to, get a picture of that. And those deals are right there. And if they apply to places that you routinely go, like a Starbucks, it makes sense for me to just be able to quickly add that. But then also, I think the other part of this is for the banks, it's a huge advantage, which Tom Burgess talked about in that as well, because top of wallet now my reloadable card is always defaulting every single week to that Bank of America
Right.
card, which is a huge benefit to the bank. So I think there's a lot of momentum behind this if they can get the customers on board and if they make it a decent value proposition for the consumers.
All right. Well, let's take a quick break to talk about another conference we're going to because it is conference o'clock, and it's the
Oh,
start of the
yes.
new year, and we have a
Yes.
conference to go to. It seems like every week, and we have another great show we're headed to this June, and you should all join us there as well. Yes, you can dive into the future of retail, e-commerce, and tech at the 2024 CommerceNext Growth Show. Join us on June 11th to 13th, 2024 in New York City to discuss topics like AI use cases in marketing and e-commerce, modernizing traditional marketing, elevating customer acquisition, omnichannel retail experience, and so much more across 60 plus sessions. Scaled retailers and brands can register for free with code FAST5 in the referral field. That's FAST space 5 in the referral field. Secure your spot now at commercenext.com/conference. And don't forget to use our code FAST5. All right, and headline number 4. I'm super excited to talk about this one too. Hasbro has cut its SKU count in half as its sales fell 23% in Q4. According to Retail Dive, Hasbro Inc.'s revenue fell 23% to about $1.29 billion during the fourth quarter, and Hasbro also posted an operating loss of another $1.2 billion. Ouch. Hasbro's full-year outlook anticipates revenue for its consumer products segment will also be down 7 to 12% this year. Oh boy. And the company also raised its cost-cutting target to $750 million from its previous goal of $350 million to $400 million by the end of 2025. But that's good for culture. In addition, another part of the company's long-term revamp included eliminating half of its SKUs. Hasbro said these SKUs represented just 2% of revenue and were duplicative and unprofitable for the company and for retailers. Joanna, we're going to go back to you on this one. 50%, I got to tell you, that seems pretty darn drastic. What do you think the intent is here?
Yeah, 50% sounds drastic, but it sounds like it's a right move likely for them, a painful but necessary, a little bit of just take the medicine, if you will. I think, what is the intent? It's very clear. It's focus. It's simplification, it's streamlining, so that they can focus assets, time, operations towards things that are driving profit. This is not something strange for us. We have a lot of clients who are grappling with sort of this hangover
Yeah.
of too many SKUs after facing sort of several years of the philosophy of more is more. More is more is more, in an attempt to return to sort of pre-COVID recovery, and then they're left with highly unproductive SKUs that they need to cull. Now, good retail hygiene says I'm monitoring my SKUs,
Right.
I'm monitoring the profitability of them, and I am cleaning that up, because you think about all of the capital that every SKU takes, even once you have it to market. But then I'm managing the SKU, I'm managing the pricing, I'm possibly promoting it, and so they are expensive to maintain. So it feels like they took a real discerning look at their situation. They said, this is not where I'm going to make money. And so let me go ahead and clean up so I can focus on areas where I can, because they did have a few bright spots in their portfolio. In things like winners, like in digital games with Monopoly
Right.
Go, which I think was, right around 800 million in revenue in the fourth quarter. So they have some bright spots. They just need to refocus. And it seems like they're trying to do that.
But with 50%, let me push you on this a little bit. Did they take a surgical look, or did they just basically like scorch earth it and be like, we're starting over? Like it's more kind of the latter, right? Like when you're that drastic.
I don't know that that's a safe assumption. I think
Okay.
you can be very discerning about it. If they did more of a we're lopping off 20% and it sounds like the 80-20, I would
Mhm.
actually be more inclined
That's
to agree with
interesting.
you that it was just kind of a lop. But if
Interesting.
they've really gone through, and the fact that they used in their press release the terminology that these are duplicative or redundant, tells me that they looked not just at the revenue they're generating and the profit loss, but that
Mhm.
they believe they have something else in the portfolio that people are buying. And so that tells me a little that they may have been more surgical than not. 50 just sounds so drastic because it sounds like they haven't done this in a long time.
Yeah, right. I know it's kind of crazy. I've never, I can't remember seeing a SKU reduction this large. But Anne, what do you think?
I mean, it seems to me like a smart way to clean house
You
and
think
look at
so?
what the strategy is going to be going forward. I'm over my skis in terms of like what the SKU cut should be. But from a marketer's perspective, I think when you talk about, we're going back to the Walmart creating content. I think as a marketer and a content creator for Hasbro, cutting these SKUs likely gives me more resources to apply to content partnerships and digital partnerships, like Joanna alluded to really bolster this brand and get people involved in purchasing those SKUs that are paying off for them. So that's where my head goes, is like, yeah, you gotta get out of just rinse and repeat with the same SKUs over and over again, and start to think about how you extend this beyond just the toy that I'm purchasing on the shelf.
That's an interesting argument. I mean, it actually makes you wonder, like, what is the future of toys? Like, is the future of toys in more digital than actually hard produced SKUs too? Is that part of the story here too, as well? Cassie, what do you think? Do you have another angle to take this discussion in?
Yeah, well, I think there was something that that half of those SKUs actually are only 2% of revenue. So
Yeah.
when I saw that, I wasn't sure if I should think this is a consultant's dream or a consultant's nightmare, because there's
Right.
a lot of things that can be fixed there. And a lot of quick wins, which is also always good when we see stuff like that. So I think because they've increased their cost cutting targets, I know pretty significantly, maybe doubling it, I think, for their by end of 2025, this will really help drive that. And so at least they can do this, refocus on their core. And I think, by coming back to that, will hopefully, realign themselves and get back on track.
Okay. Wow. I'm going to go in the opposite direction here. I think this is the canary in the coal mine. I think this is a signal to me that the leadership team, which hasn't been at the helm that long, the new CEO came in February of 2022. I think he isn't long for the road. I mean, I think 50% is just so drastic. It's why you never hear that. And the only reason I think you would do it, honestly, is because you want to wipe the slate clean and start over. And it also kind of feels like an arrogant statement to make from a CEO as well. Like, hey, we just clean house 50%. They only do 2% of the business. Like, let's just.
I love the voice that you're using for their CEO.
Yeah.
Very
Well, I know,
Jersey
but that's just like, that's how
Hey,
this stuff gets done. Right. And so, and his experience is weird too. His experience is like, he was president of the Wizards of Coast and a longtime Microsoft employee. So it's hard for me to believe that a brand like Hasbro, with all the properties it has, that they got things so far out of whack so quickly. And so I just think there's going to be more fallout to come from this. But I don't know. That's my prediction. Any last thoughts on that? Tell me why I'm right or wrong.
No, I just want to.
No. All right, let's move on, Ann.
All right, headline number 5. Walmart is rolling out its coast-to-coast network of EV fast chargers. According to Electrek, Walmart is kicking off plans to build and remodel hundreds of stores in the U.S., and those plans include installing DC fast chargers. Now, Walmart is hitting the ground running. It says it's going to remodel 650 stores across 47 states and Puerto Rico over the next 12 months and build or convert more than 150 stores in the next 5 years. DC fast charger installation is included in that plan. The retailer stated it's, quote, working on developing a coast-to-coast network of affordable electric vehicle fast charging stations that we hope will make EV ownership a more convenient and accessible choice for Walmart customers and associates, end quote. Cassie, we're going to you first on this. Is installing fast chargers something on which other retailers should rush to follow Walmart, or how do you advise your clients to think about electrification?
Whenever you see Walmart doing something, everyone, especially, we started off the show talking about how great their results are. Everyone's going to naturally think, is there a version of this for me? I think for Walmart, yes, I think 90% of, Americans live within 10 miles of a Walmart or something like that. So it's a great signal from Walmart that they are committed to sustainability. They're able to get their customers in. It takes 20 minutes to an hour, I believe, for these fast chargers to go. So that's perfect time for your Walmart trip. So for them, it makes sense. Maybe for some grocers, there's a play there that's the right amount of time. I don't see at the same scale that there are a lot of other retailers that it would make sense to independently be going after this. I think there's a lot of other partnership opportunities. So, there's Electrify America, which is also already partnering, I think, with Target and Kroger that's installed. I think, in the past, they may have had a Walmart partnership. So maybe the partnership route, but in terms of actually installing their own, there are very few retailers that are going to have the scale to be able to actually, commit to the installation and then the upkeep, the payment platform that's necessary, all of that. And, it's not necessary for them to do alone. So, why not work with the experts out there rather than, go at it in-house? But for Walmart, I see it. For others, I'm not sure that we would be advising for them to go after alone.
Fair. Yeah. Joanna, what are your thoughts here? Do you agree with what Cassie was saying?
Yeah, to some degree, I think that the partnerships is the right approach. I mean, even with what Walmart already has installed, the majority of those are exclusively owned and managed by Electrify America. So, and they bore the brunt of a lot of the cost to do the installs. So I think, you know, Cassie's absolutely onto something in terms of the partnership to help with the build out of it.
Mhm.
You know, how fast? I think Walmart's statement was they're doing this over 5 years. I think so much can change in 5 years in terms of how charging is done, battery improvement, and all that.
Right.
And so, you know, my question is less about doing it and more, you know, do you want to commit to sort of that scale over the time period that I think the horizon's going to look very different? You
Yeah.
know, 5 years
That's
ago to now is very different. So it's more about how much they're rolling out as opposed to whether or not it makes sense, just given proximity and scale.
Yeah, I think when I first heard this, I was thrilled because when we were at the National Association of Convenience Stores just back in October, it was really interesting to hear like, yes, EV is something that we want in this country. We want to expand it. However, the infrastructure is not there. And to Cassie's point, you know, with 90% of Americans living within 10 miles of a Walmart, this does, and over 4,000 Walmarts all over the country, like this does start to build an infrastructure that could support, especially in the rural communities, which is where we're missing out on a lot of these charging stations. It does start to build an infrastructure to make EV charging more accessible and EV purchasing of vehicles much more accessible. I also think that there's a lot of opportunities here for Walmart to add some benefits into this, like, you know, with your Walmart Plus membership, do you get to reserve stations? You get priority over other customers if you're, you know, a part of this, and definitely gets you to choose Walmart over another retailer if you can accomplish two things in one spot. So I do like it. I think it's really good to hear from Cassie and from Joanna, like to temper the real realities of, is this the right move and is this the right time? Definitely not for everybody, but for Walmart, it seems like it's a great move. Chris, give you the last word here. Any other
Yeah,
thoughts
I
that
don't
you'd
have a lot
add
to
to
add.
this?
I think the Walmart Plus angle is brilliant. I mean, it gives them another hook to that eventually, you know, as they get it going. And the other thing I'd add too is it gives you another substrate. Now, there's probably technicalities in how it all works, but another substrate from which you can talk to your consumer via your media network too, because
Right.
they're, you know,
Yep.
at those pumps for a long time as well. There's a lot of content you can serve up that way. So, you know, from both those angles, the Walmart Plus play and the media side, I love this. And I think it's a commendable move from Walmart. Again, no surprise. We've been lauding them on the show, you know, consistently for a long time now.
Right. All right, you guys, let's get to the lightning round. First question goes to you, Joanna. Coca-Cola is launching Coca-Cola Spiced this week, which features a refreshing burst of raspberry, which is combined with the iconic Coca-Cola formula. Consumers will taste the raspberry, followed by the warm spiced flavor. Are you in or out with Coca-Cola Spice, Joanna?
I'm not a huge soda person in general, and I do like a good cherry Coke if I do have it. So I'm kind
Yes.
of a cherry Coke purist. I might be out on the spiced, but I wish I had heard about this over the holidays because with some vodka, it might have made a really great
Yeah,
cocktail.
that's
Right.
all right. All
Yeah.
right. All
Yeah.
right.
Good call. Good call. All right, Cassie, next one's for you. The average payout for a lost tooth recently hit a record $6.23 in 2023, which is up from $5.36 in 2022, according to a recent poll. And you can tell it's real because those are actual dollars and cents numbers that are tracked over time. So my question for you is this: when you were a kid, what were Cassie's canines going for?
I think I only got a dollar or two for most of my teeth. So I guess my parents were, or I guess they haven't kept up with inflation compared to these days. But I will say, I did get $5 or $10 because I let my sister pull out a tooth. So that was my most valuable.
Oh,
Oh my
Yeah.
Oh,
oh man.
good for
With
you,
what?
Cassie.
It was hanging on by a thread, and she I think she just wanted to punish me because she thought it would probably hurt. So
Oh my gosh. I
but
can't.
somehow I was the one who got the money in that situation. So I think I won.
Oh
So
my
that was my
God.
most valuable tooth as a kid.
Oh man. All right, Cassie, we're going back to you. I can't wait to hear what your answer is on this one. NASA is seeking participants for a simulated year-long Mars mission complete with agriculture, fitness, and stress tests, as well as other simulations to see how humans might survive on the red planet. Would you participate?
My initial thought would be no, I like my life on earth, but I am very competitive. I was a collegiate athlete, so I think if the challenge was there, I would want to prove that I was at that top ability of someone who could pass this and be able to be chosen for this. So I might have to say I would go for it.
Awesome. I love it. I love it.
All right, let's close it out. So Payments recently wrote that biometrics could hit a tipping point at airports in 2024. If that turns out to be the case, Joanna, which body part are you most comfortable using for recognition when boarding a plane?
I think, Chris, the question is, well, who's looking? But if I really think about it, I'm gonna go eyes. Anything that keeps me from
Eyes.
touching yet another thing
Yeah.
in gross airports
Agreed.
and airplanes, I'm all for. So I'll do the eye scan.
Yeah, I'm with you. Got to be the face. Got to be the face. The eyes. All right. Happy birthday to Billy Baldwin, Jordan Peele, and the man who voiced the most annoying robot in history, the great Anthony Daniels. And remember, if you can only read or listen to one retail blog in the business, make it OmniTalk, the only retail media outlet run by two former executives from a current top 10 US retailer. Our Fast Five podcast is the quickest, fastest rundown of all the week's top news. And our daily newsletter, the Retail Daily Minute, tells you all you need to know each day to stay on top of your game as a retail executive, and also regularly features special content that is exclusive to us and that Ann and I take pride in doing just for you. Thanks as always for listening in. Please remember to like and leave us a review wherever you happen to listen to your podcast or on YouTube. You can follow us today by simply going to youtube.com/OmniTalkRetail. Joanna, if people liked what you and Cassie had to say, they want to get in touch with the A&M Consumer and Retail Group, what's the best way for them to do that?
Well, they can certainly find Cassie and me on LinkedIn for sure. Or they can come to our website, which is Alvarez and Marcel -crg.com.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you both for joining us today on behalf of Cassie, Joanna, the A&M Consumer and Retail Group, and Ann and myself and all of us at OmniTalk Retail. As always, be careful out there.
The OmniTalk Fast Five is brought to you in association with the A&M Consumer and Retail Group. The A&M Consumer and Retail Group is a management consulting firm that tackles the most complex challenges and advances its clients, people, and communities toward their maximum potential. CRG brings the experience, tools, and operator-like pragmatism to help retailers and consumer products companies be on the right side of disruption. And Avalara. Avalara makes tax compliance faster, easier, more accurate, and more reliable for 30,000 plus business and government customers in over 90 countries. Avalara leverages 1,200 plus signed partner integrations to power tax calculations, document management, tax return filing, and tax content access. Visit avalara.com to improve your compliance journey. And Williot. Williot's ambient IoT visibility platform, powered by battery-free Bluetooth tags, eliminates scanning for real-time end-to-end inventory visibility. For more information, head to williot.com/OmniTalk. And TGW. Revolutionize your grocery supply chain with TGW. Their experts tailor automation solutions to fit your needs, ensuring you have the edge. Work with TGW before your competition does. Discover more at tgw-group.com. And finally, Sezzle. Sezzle is an innovative buy now, pay later solution that allows shoppers to split purchases into 4 interest-free payments over 6 weeks. To learn more, visit Sezzle.com.